Hello everybody, Cododger here, and welcome back to Automation. Today we're going to work on trying to build a car that will get as close to possible as the time I set on the Automation test track in NASCAR 2003 in a Trans Am car. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, the link's in the description for basically the video that covers that. I took the Automation test track, which we've messed with a little bit, and I created that in an older racing sim, and I took what is considered to be a Trans Am car around it, which is a full-blown race car, and I set a time of 1 minute and 53 seconds. It was like a 153.6 something. So I want to just see how close I could get to that time with something that we could build in Automation, which at this point is basically just street cars, and that will probably, in what I can tell, that will probably always be the case. This is not a race car building game. This is a car company tycoon. So race cars could be involved in that, but for the main part, you're talking street cars. We have some really high-tech stuff to work with, and some high power and high grip, but we don't have racing slicks for one. We don't have roll cages and that kind of stiff body style. We don't have a lot of things that would be towards building a race car. So it's going to be a challenge to go near that kind of time, and we're probably going to have to go crazy to get there. Now, if you remember, I built this ugly little car to try and get close to the top of the Top Gear power lap times. I'm actually going to use this platform for these tests. I may end up revising it a little bit. Oh yeah, there it is. Now, in all reality, it didn't look that bad when we finished it out with the bigger wheels and whatnot, but not my best design ever. What I wanted to check was if I could get the wheel arches wider. So that would require taking all of the fixtures off, which is a little bit annoying, but I don't see any way they could get around that. So I'm actually going to try and do that off camera. I'm just going to take everything off and not save it and see if they can go any wider. Okay, so the answer to that question was no. This is as wide as we can get them, so there's no point in going and completely redoing this. I've got a lot of vents in this thing. I may need even more though. So let's see where we could sneak in some more vents, or just maybe make this bigger. Currently the total is under 900. I want to get over 1,000 for sure. So this is going to get bigger, and doing this is going to kind of be a large part of the game eventually, is taking your models and revising them, updating them, making new improved models or high performance models, etc., etc. And if you watch the little dev updates, Killrob just released a video that was describing how the game's going to move in that direction soon. All of this stuff and this current windowed screen here, all of that's going to go away and turn into a more streamlined kind of tab-based system. It looked really cool. It looked like it was going to make this process a lot more logical. It's kind of broken up and sporadic right now, so definitely starting to see the game turn more towards the tycoon side. These vents were just goofy additions. I didn't really care for them, but let me see if I can at least make them fit a little better. Something like that. Yeah, that at least fits the body a little better. Now we're up towards 1,000 kilowatt. Kilojoules. I don't know exactly what the cooling values are there, but I know it's a lot, and that's what we need. And I've got the big wing on there. I think That is just all I will need, because eventually you start just ruining the aero. So let me rename this car. I don't want to spend too much time on this portion of it because that's not really what I'm going for today. And we'll call this the Trans Am. Trans Am Challenge. Now let's back out of here. Trans Am Challenge, new model. Alright, so now I want to go over a little bit of what Trans Am actually is and what I mean by that. If you don't know, it was a racing series that existed up until the mid-2000s and has recently been revived. The era that I built, or sorry, the era that I was using the car in was about the 2003-2004 era. And in that time, there were tube frame cars of GT body style, kind of muscle car body style cars that had kind of mid to high displacement V8s, you know, in the range of 4 to 5 liters, and were fuel injected. They did not have traction control, but they did have, you know, a higher level of technology than, say, NASCAR, which at the time was still carbureted and stuff like that. They were using aluminum blocks, aluminum heads, stuff like that. So it was about the highest point of American road racing at that time, and we're looking in the range of, from what I could find, anywhere from 600 to 800 horsepower. I actually have seen a couple of these cars and talked to people that own them because of traveling with the Spec Miata SCCA team, so I know a little bit about what their kind of technical stats were, but a lot of that stuff, you know, they kept kind of hush-hush because they didn't want everybody to know. It was a pretty big deal at the time. So that's what we have to deal with. That's what we're going up against, is a full-on race car with upwards of 800 horsepower, super lightweight, probably 2,500 pounds max, and just massive, I'm talking 18 by 8 racing slicks in the front, you know, 18 by 10s in the back, just crazy wide slicks that we're not going to be able to accomplish here. So we're going to have to go in a little bit of a crazier direction. And one of the things we'll do is all-wheel drive. Certainly couldn't do that in Trans Am, so all-wheel drive. And engine-wise, this one's actually pretty much spot on as far as what Trans Am engines would be like. It's a little bit larger in the fact that it's a 6-liter, but this is obviously running on pump gas and just, you know, it's a more streetable engine. So let's revise this one. Save the different version. That is okay. It will just update it for us. And let's see. Yeah, this one had a very high MTBF. Redline was pretty tame, but it was a pretty intense engine we built here, and it had dry fuel injection, which I don't think was really something that was used in the early 2000s. It was still all multi-point, but we're not doing a recreation. We're not doing anything of the era. I just want to see how close I can get to the time. That's my only goal here. I've seen some people on the forums that have gotten close, and I've seen a couple that passed it, but they were extremely just wild builds. I'm just trying to keep it somewhat in the realm of reality. Everything here looked pretty good. Oh, I think race car-y kind of stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and just max out the quality. Race car top end, same thing. Race car type top end. 5 valves per cylinder. Probably wouldn't find that in a race car, but you'll find it in this one. Cam profile, we can go just all the way mental on that. Aspiration, I want to keep it NA for now, but we can go down to our race intake. We already were using 95. Unfortunately, we don't have 100 to choose from. 100, 105 is typically what you would consider race fuel. Again, this is a street quote-unquote car building game, not a race car building game, so it's understandable to not have 100. Fuel system configuration, let's go for individual throttle bodies, because what's more a race car than that? I'm going to try and bump that rev limit up to 8,000. Everything here should be good. I don't think we'll be making anywhere near 1,000 horsepower just yet. And we can take all the mufflers and cats off. So here we have a 775 horsepower base engine. Let's see what kind of improvement we got with those changes. Or if it explodes. Oh yeah, by the way, this is a flat plane V8, so if it sounds really weird to you, that is why. To me, it sounds awesome. That's about the kind of gains I was expecting, and you can see it's all in the top end. There's no streetable curve here. This is pure race car kind of curve. We actually have some fuel octane left, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little bit more cam because it seemed like it was starting to dip down. And let's see. I have ignition all the way ignition timing all the way advanced, and we can give it more compression. So let's do a quick test. 94.4. Oh, now we're at the 900 horsepower mark. Give it just a little bit more. That might have been too much. That's too much. Let's go to the bottom end for some reason. So there we go. Ooh, that gained us 1 horsepower. Woohoo! But now it does not knock, so we're keeping it together. Still, the MTBF is very high. MTBF is apparently getting phased out too, which is something that I'm happy with. That's not really a number that it's just a little hard to read. You know, you would think it would make sense. It's mean time between failure. Obviously, that's after 56,000 kilometers, it's expected to fail. That's, to me, I think that reads a little different than what they're intending it to read. I'm probably even understanding it different than what they want it to read. Emissions, super high. Economy, not very good. That means we're doing some things right. Exhaust, I don't see anywhere. Obviously, we don't need bypass valves. I don't see anywhere we can improve anything there. Let's give it a little bit of RPM bump and see if it'll take it. Right there's when it starts to have issues, but it's still not blowing up, so let's keep going. Yeah, still gaining power, gaining overall performance, and we're still not coming apart, so we're gonna keep going until it does. Yeah, 918. And this will affect how we use the car later on. Okay, now we're not seeing any gains, so I'm gonna go back down to 84. Probably see that. I'm guessing it's probably the pistons that are going to start to go first. Yep. And then barely the connecting rods. So overall, it's not really getting into too far into the danger zone. You can see we're actually outflowing the valves a little bit at the red line, but nothing dramatic. Actually, that's probably maybe representing valve float, since it's such a large engine. But that's all good. I can only imagine what this thing would make turbocharged, but I don't think we're gonna need to go there just yet. So let's... Oh no! Okay, let me redo all of that and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm up to 925 on my second build. I think that's higher than the first time I did this. So we're gonna call this the 6.0 Crazy Race TA Challenge. Thank you for not limiting how long I can make the name. I thought it was going to. Alright, now I actually have that one saved. Let's choose it. And we needed 906 for cooling. We have a little bit extra for the brakes. That's a good thing. And manual gearbox, double clutch. I'll do 7 ratios. Trans Am car would have 6, but they did indeed use a double clutch sequential setup. And the spacing, I could really use a tip on the spacing. I saw in one of Killer Rob's videos that he made the spacing pretty close together for a car he expected to be kind of off-roady. So I'm going to say that a racing car should have a pretty wide spacing. And top speed. Now here's something. If I remember from the video where I did the automation test track, I was hitting about 185 in the Trans Am car. So I don't expect to go much faster than, say, 190. So I'm not going to use extra gear that we're not going to use. Now onto the really important stuff for this. Let me whoop and whoop. The wheels, we're going to use semi-slick tires. We're going to go as wide as we can. 275 and I think 325s? Nope, 335s. And we want them to be fairly low profile. So up to 17s. And yeah, 30-25, that sounds good. Brakes, high quality, super high quality. 4-piston fronts with the most aggressive pan we can put on there. The largest brake disc we can put on there. Solid disc in the back. There's something that will probably be implemented later. We could put some like vented disc and stuff like that on here to get rid of some brake fade. So there's some speed we could potentially have. 2-piston calipers in the back because 4 is just going to be completely unused basically. Yeah, I think we need the 160. You couldn't even see it under the wheel. We'll go max in the back as well. Actually, let's go 4-piston. Why not? No reason not to. We'll go with a fully clad downforce under tray. Cooling airflow, brake airflow. Let's give that a good healthy amount, and then we'll take that down just to what we need. Okay, and give it a bit more. Let's not waste. Aero inclination, I'm going to leave this in the middle for now, and we'll adjust it as we need. Give it some downforce. Interior, as little as we can. I don't know what this is really going to do for me on the quality. No sound insulation. On super light interior. No entertainment. We'll give it power steering. None of that. No safety. Suspension. Let's see. This is the really tricky part. I also saw in the little dev update that the presets are coming. He had the presets in there. I can't wait for that. But I actually saw some of the values that were listed under racing suspension, so I'm gonna borrow some of those real quick. And we'll just use these as a baseline. And ride height all the way down. Alrighty, now we are finally ready. Here is the main stats. 2748 on the weight, so a little heavier than probably necessary, and a lot of that is to do with the all-wheel drive, I assume. Our weight distribution isn't great. This is a very long-nosed car. Ideally, we would have the engine pushed back a little further, but it is what it is. The car gets 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds. That's insane. Quarter mile in a 9.2, also insane. Cornering G 135, I think that's the highest I've seen. 15 miles per gallon. That seems very conservative. I don't think it's getting 15 miles to a gallon. Downforce, we are making 170 pounds downforce at 124 miles an hour. So that's good. Here's what we need to see. Let's do around the test track. Rocketing right off the line. These two turns here, these two chicane-esque turns, and these down here are what's going to ruin this lap for us. I believe the in-game representation of this track is much harsher in these turns than my version was, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just the way the the game here, it takes the line, it takes it literally, rather than as a race car driver, you would just kind of make this into basically one turn, you know, you want to try and turn as little as you can. This is not really doing that, I don't think. Let's see how much speed we build up. 280. Well, we were way up there in 6th, but we're not really even hardly using 7th. Yeah, we used a little bit at the end there. This is a very hard turn here, a little bit off camera. So this is where it's going to just stop, basically. See how very slow it takes that chicane. I was almost shortcutting that, you know, jumping the curb lane side, you know. That's kind of how you would take a chicane like that. I would be happy if we could get under the 2-minute mark, but I think even that's probably going to be near impossible. Alright, getting up to the finish line. And no. 129. Ouch. Very, very ouch. So the time for the Trans Am car was a 1:13. So this ran a do the math real quick. This ran a 2 minute 9 seconds. So actually a little bit over 16, actually exactly 16 seconds slower than the Trans Am car. I am not overly surprised by that, and once again I want to say that a lot of that I think is right here, and some of that right here, and we can also attribute a lot of that to be just the overall grip from not having full racing slicks, only pulling 1.35 G. I know darn well that that full body GT cars or even tube chassis GT cars pull very close to 2 Gs in the turn, if not more. So definitely the grip is where we're losing our time. But now, just for fun, I'm gonna go off camera for a second, and I'm gonna do some experimenting and see if maybe ultimate power can overcome our lack of grip. Alrighty, so I think I have gotten everything as ultimate status as I could possibly get. I actually did a lot of experimenting, a lot of powertrain experimentation going on. Did some twin turbo setups, which birthed this atrocity of a front end because it required so much cooling. Now I've gone back to the NA setup, but I've gotten it up to 1006 horsepower, which has helped pretty much everything. But we'll see what it does on the track. I've done a lot of little tweaks everywhere, including going up to 18s and stuff like that. So yeah, let's see if maybe we can pick up a second or two. That would be worth it to me. I'm not gonna make you sit through the whole thing this time. Let's just take a look. 128.39. That is actually not the best I've done. That 128.00 was the best time I was able to accomplish. So I think that's the most I'm gonna get out of this particular car. Maybe somebody else out there could do something better, and I would love to see it. So if you want to take on this challenge, basically all you need to do is build a car that will do a 1 minute 53 second time. Try and keep it realistic, so something that would make more than a lap without exploding. Other than that, it's an open ball game. I want to see what you can do, and if you do manage to beat a Trans Am car at the automation test track, I will be very much so impressed. Actually, I think that is going to do it for today. I have run out of time. I have to go to work, so no no second part to this episode, but what I'm going to do is a second episode this week. We are going to try and go back, way back when I was doing engine recreations. One of the first ones I did was the Nissan KA24DE, and that was because I'm a big 240SX fan. So what my end goal now is to build a full-on replica 240SX in the game here, so we can see what its time would be on the Top Gear test track. That is the next thing I want to cross off my list of things to do in automation, so look forward to that next time. But as always, thanks for watching.